This is the spin for the Riseball. Notice that the ball is coming off the sides of the fingers, and the wrist is snapping up. Kathy will now demonstrate the Riseball pitch. Notice that the right shoulder is coming lower into the release area than the other pitches. Kathy will now demonstrate the Riseball from the side position. Notice that her right shoulder is lower than her left shoulder coming into the release area. I'll now demonstrate the pitch. Let's notice the lower right shoulder coming into the release area. It's important to remember that the ball must come off the sides of the fingers in the Riseball. I'll now demonstrate the Riseball, and it's important to remember on the Riseball that the hand gets underneath the ball at the release. There's a slightly longer stride, and that the hand snaps up with a hard, fast follow-through. As a reminder, the grips for the curveball are the same as the Riseball. The knuckle grip, the fingertip grip, and the fingers flat or curved on the ball. This is the spin for the curveball. It is important to remember that, like the Riseball, the curveball is spun off the sides of the fingers. The curveball is released with the hands and fingers underneath the ball, and the ball being released around the hip. Make sure that you follow through with your hip and knee towards the first base line. Kathy will now demonstrate the curveball pitch. Kathy will now demonstrate the curveball. Notice that the curveball is released around her hip, and her left shoulder is a little lower coming into the release area. I will now demonstrate the curveball. Notice the left shoulder lower than the right coming into the release area, and the ball being released around my hip. I'll now demonstrate the curveball, and it's important to remember that the curveball must be released around the hip. These are the grips for the drop ball, either 2 fingers across the seams or 3 fingers across the seams. What's important to remember is that the ball must be held in a manner where 4 seams are rotating towards the plate, not 2 seams. 4 seams rotating. In the release for the drop, the fingers are pointing down towards the ground as the hand is coming into the release area, and at the moment of release, the fingers are snapping hard upwards, creating a downward spin on the ball. This is the spin for the drop ball. It's important to remember that the ball is spun off the ends of the fingers. Kathy will now demonstrate the drop ball pitch. Notice the right shoulder finishing higher at the release. And Kathy is angling the pitch down. Kathy will now demonstrate the drop pitch. Notice that Kathy is taking a slightly shorter stride and is getting over on top of the ball, angling the pitch down. I'll now demonstrate the drop ball pitch. Very important that the pitch be angled down and that you finish with a higher right shoulder in the release area. I'll now demonstrate the drop ball pitch, and it's important to remember that you take a slightly shorter stride and get over on top of the ball when releasing it. Kathy will now demonstrate the change drop pitch. Notice the shorter stride for the change drop. And the ball is released with a hard snap over at release. Kathy is now demonstrating the change drop. Notice the very short stride and the ball being released over on top downwards. I will now demonstrate the change drop pitch. I will now demonstrate the changed drop, and it's important to remember to have a short stride for this pitch. This is the grip for the knuckleball. Fingertips are on top of the ball. The ball is held with the thumb and little finger. The knuckleball is released with a stiff wrist, and the ball is shoved towards the plate with the fingertips. Kathy will now demonstrate the change knuckle. Notice that Kathy is releasing the change knuckle with a stiff wrist and is shoving the ball out towards the plate with her fingertips. Kathy will now demonstrate the change knuckle. Notice that she's releasing the ball with a stiff wrist and is shoving the ball towards the plate with her fingertips. I will now demonstrate the change knuckle. I will now demonstrate the changed knuckle, and it's important to remember that the ball be released with a stiff wrist. This is a spin drill to develop pitches, and we're going to start with the spin for the Riseball. Throw the ball slow and concentrate on spinning the ball properly. Remember, on the Riseball, the ball must come off the sides of the fingers. Do not throw the ball hard. Throw it easy, concentrating on spin.
To be a successful pitcher,